we could start getting things back to relative normal as we get into the second and third quarter of the year, where people can start thinking about doing things that were too dangerous just months ago. But we've got to put all those things together, Jake. We can't just wish it happening. We've got to get the vaccine, it's got to be deployed, and we can't abandon fundamental public health measures. You can approach a degree of normality while still doing some fundamental public health things that synergize with the vaccine to get us back to normal.
So not until the second or third quarter of 2021, though. Christmas is probably not going to be possible.
Yeah,
It's time to move on. The election's over. There wasn't fraud. There wasn't anything else. 6 states, swing states flipped from Trump to Biden. Those 6 states, in each of them, the margin is not even close. No court is going to overturn this election. Joe Biden will be installed as president. So Republicans get over it.
72 million people voted for Donald Trump. What does that say to you about the state of this country?
Well, what it says is that we are still deeply divided. The power of that alternative worldview that's presented in the media that those voters consume, it carries a lot of weight.
Are you worried about that?
Yes. It's very hard for our democracy to function if we are operating on just completely different sets of facts.
This looks like the effort to carry out an end game in the effort against him. Do you concur?
Oh, absolutely, and it's been organized and conducted with the help of Silicon Valley people, the big tech companies, the social media companies, and even the media companies. And I'm going to release the Kraken. It is indeed a very foul mess. It is farther and wider and deeper than we ever thought, but we are going to go after it, and I am going to expose every one of them.
Well, fine. Take down the CCP. That's where we start. Release the Kraken. Okay, that is Sidney Powell, and if you don't want somebody in your grill, it's Sidney Powell. She's coming. All the happy talk before that. Obama, give me a break. The rise. Listen, this weekend proves something. We've got the lawfare part. Have a few hiccups every now and again, but we've got the new media part. That's what Obama's whining about. The alternative facts. Only 72 million people, President Obama, more I would note than voted for you, right? And today and this weekend, just absolutely incredible show of force. Not just a show of force, a show of the best qualities of the American people. Inclusive, diverse, optimistic, with grit, determination, no back down, and hundreds of thousands. Of course, if it wasn't for our partners at Real America's Voice and a couple of others, you wouldn't know it. Because not even the mainstream media. I think Fox. The only time Fox had it up was when the hosts were chewing out Trump's legal team. Absolutely incredible this weekend, and we're going to have the people to put it together on later in the show to talk about not just what happened this weekend, but go forward. You should understand something. You are not alone. Not only are you not alone, you're in the driving, rising majority in this country. Because the Bernie bros are now really bait and switched, okay? So this is the rise of Trumpism. And that is why it's so important to close the deal. And we are going to close the deal. Donald J. Trump is president of the United States. Donald J. Trump was reelected with massive numbers. Donald J. Trump is going to be inaugurated on the 20th of January, the year of our Lord, 2021. Everything else you're hearing from the other side is their fantasy. And feckless Joe Biden up there talking to the car park, talking to the new additions of Toyotas in Delaware, right? Here's the tell: you can't get anybody in the House. We're going to give you inside baseball. Nobody in the House on the Democratic side, and nobody in the Senate is volunteering to even go near his transition team or near what would be his administration. Nobody, and they're saying, "Hey, we can't lose." We can't lose seats, right? Bernie's on TV begging for a role, right? But they tell him he can't go. This is what they had is the nullification project from the beginning of President Trump. What we've got is the continuation project. The only thing I would recommend to President Trump, now you've got Rudy and Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood and people like that in charge of your legal. You're going to see, and we're going to have Boris Epstein on here in the second hour to talk about don't believe the fake news. They're going into federal court and they're going to argue the entire case, right? They're going to argue the entire case. Equal protection is the one. Equal protection is about them curing the ballots, right, or letting the Democrats have the ballots and not cure. It's an equal protection argument. But it's also going to be there's 682,000 ballots in Philadelphia alone, 2.6 million mail-ins, 682. I think total for the state right now, 951 rejected because of naked ballots. And this is, if you Google, this is the oligarchs. They suppress all this information. There's one article out there, about how they're so stunned, how few. And beforehand, you go back into late September, you go back into early October, they were whining unbelievably. This could be 5%, this could be 10%. Of course. It was 1% under Hillary Clinton, and that's where people actually did the absentee ballots right. I mean, they've been doing them for a long time. 2.6 million, that number blew away everybody. It's obvious they're trying to steal this. People say they stole it. No, they didn't steal it. They're trying to steal it. They're not going to be able to steal it because on the 14th of December, there's not going to be enough certified electoral votes. Not going to be enough states to certify it. And don't believe the fake news of all the state system. Oh, we're just not going to do it. If the vote can't be certified, we don't need the legislature to come in and put their own electors up. It's just not certified. You go to a contingent election, and he'll win in the House. And for those guys in Harrisburg that are getting weak, you don't think Donald Trump's going to come up to Harrisburg and have a rally that has 200,000 Trump people there? And you think you get some heat from the left? Oh, I'm nervous. They're doxing me. They're saying bad things about me. Hey, you got to man up. You're having some heroes step up, but you're going to have to man up. Okay, I want to turn now to Maggie Van Haget, Raheem Kassam, Jack Max. We got so much to get through. We got to go through the hard drive from hell. We're going to go through the pandemic. I'm so glad I didn't wave off the name. Everybody's sitting there, oh, you got to stop it. It's 2020. No. It's pandemic. I got Fauci. Not only is he taking away Thanksgiving, not only is he taking away Christmas, he's taking away 2021. What quarter? He's already talking about the third quarter. Do you know the third quarter gets you all the way through October of next year? He's taking away baseball again. He's taking away all the golf tournaments again. He's taking away football again. They're planning. It's Build Back Better. This is the Great Reset. Okay, this is globalism on steroids. You right now in the breach, the Trump movement, are what is leading the world. Why are they shutting down this show everywhere? Why are they taking us off Twitter? Why are they shutting it down? It's because Jack Maxey's doing the dump of the hard drive from hell. We're fighting every day. This show gets bigger. You can't shut this show down because people want access to information. Build Back Better, the Great Reset, is just globalization on steroids because they saw what they had to do. And we're going to get into the whole thing on the CCP and their virus. Let's go. But the parade, I got to tell you, on Saturday, it was incredibly, incredibly special. I wish I'd had a chance to participate more. I was going to try to speak, but I got caught up in Rudy's move to take this thing over and to get this thing sorted. Because right now, this is about data and it's about legal. And it's about these federal courts. I talked to Dave Kallman a bunch over the weekend and this morning. He's going to be in the show at 5 o'clock today. They're just filing right now in Michigan their appellate brief. So the fight is in courts all over the country, in these federal courts. Big argument tomorrow in Williamsport, I think, Pennsylvania, in the Central District. Okay, huge. Fake news this morning. They're going in and arguing about the poll watchers. Don't believe they're going to. Boris Epstein to walk us through the details. Maggie, tell us about this march. What you saw. I'm going to play a couple of your interviews. I was absolutely blown away. I've never seen this was bigger than the original Tea Party, that march that shocked Barack Obama in Washington D.C. That's what they're talking smack this weekend. They saw the power of the Trump movement. Decent, hardworking, diverse, right, inclusive, accessible, talking the talk of populism and nationalism. And here's the beauty, not going to back up 1 inch, right? Maggie.
Yeah. And many people were even saying this is like the Tea Party on steroids. So the event was supposed to, it started at noon, but even a few hours ahead of time, the streets were already packed. By the time I arrived, it hadn't even started yet, and it was so massive that I couldn't even really see the where the crowd started and where it ended. All of Freedom Plaza was absolutely packed with people. You couldn't even really hear the speakers if you were standing in the back of the plaza, and the people overflowed into the street and beyond, in the streets surrounding Freedom Plaza. So I stood in the plaza for about an hour, sort of half listening to speakers and getting some great interviews, one of which I'm going to play shortly. And then I noticed people started walking down the street, and they were walking for a really long time, just continually passing. So at first when I arrived, I was trying to get a handle on how many people were there, and I estimated about 20,000. And then as I watched the people just walking down the street, I said, there's got to be more like 50,000 people here. So then I decided, I was like, I can't really hear these speakers. I'm just going to join in and walk with these people. And so I walked up Pennsylvania Avenue, and then we turned onto Constitution, and I decided to stop and do more interviews. And I stopped for over an hour and just let people come to me, and the crowd never stopped. So I couldn't...
20 wide.
Yeah, and exactly, they're 20 wide. This is a wide street, and they're just walking continually. And so I had to continually readjust my estimate of how many people were there. All of a sudden I said, there's not, 50,000 people there. There's at least 100,000. And then I said, there's at least 200,000 as I stood there for over an hour. And so 200,000 was about my estimate, but there were reports that said there were, Charlie Kirk and Kayleigh McEnany said there were over 1 million. I don't really know where they got that number from, but there were so many, I could not even have a sense of how many people were there.
Can we play one of her interviews?
Yes, let's go.
Also, I want to play footage. When we're talking about the thing, I want to play footage. Okay. Didn't we go through this on Saturday? Okay, fine. But I know we got more footage. Let's play your interview.
You came out all the way from Texas to attend this. What inspired you to come so far just to show up to support the president?
Because someday people are going to ask me, where were you in November of 2020? Where were you when your country, the greatest country in the world, was stolen by crooked politicians? And I don't want to say that I sat at home watching on TV and doing nothing. I wanted to say I was here serving my country once again. I served 5 years in the Marine Corps in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I am not going to sit by while the evil tentacles of socialism wrap itself around the greatest country in the world. I will not be quiet. I will not go quietly into that good night. So right now, we're going to come up here and we're going to peacefully protest, and we're going to stop the steal, and we're going to get 4 more years of Trump and keep America great.
Mr. President, we support you 100% and have not given up. You have overall picked up 71 million votes. That can't be refuted. You can't use what we call the new math to take over an election. 1 + 1 = 3 in their world, not in ours. You have our support, and you are going to win.
I tell you what, this is, you all day long you're out there. And here's the thing, didn't they cut down the Wi-Fi so you guys couldn't connect live?
I don't know, but I wasn't able to post anything while I was there. There was no service. I don't know why.
This is what I heard all day: is they cut down the Wi-Fi, so there's no Wi-Fi, so people couldn't post on Facebook Live because they didn't want the communication. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to tell you how you can get the show and how you can be a force multiplier. It's important to come to these marches, but if you can't, you can still be part of the phalanx. Okay, the rise of populism, the rise of nationalism, the rise of Trumpism, it cannot be defeated, and neither can the President of the United States.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Building back better. That's what your betters are saying right now. That's the whole scam, right? This thing's an entire, complete scam. This is nothing but the party of Davos. This is the World Economic Forum. Remember, it's no conspiracy, but there are no coincidences. Okay, this is the way the system works. That's why it's not a deep state. It's an in-your-grill state. Note to White House, let's bottom blow the intelligence today. Okay, the second term has started. The first thing of the second term should be, why does Ray still have a job? Why does the head of the CIA still have a job? Right? Why not release the Kraken? How about Radcliffe over DNI? He's a superstar, right? Let's put Rick Grinnell back in there on an interim basis at the CIA. Let's put Sidney Powell in interim basis at FBI. Let's take all the madness that they did and just bottom blow, explode, because Durham's not going to do it. You have to do it. President of the United States has to do it. With a stroke of a pen, you could do it. You've been telling people this for 2 years. You told Kelly, told everybody. They just didn't want to do it. So now you have to do it. And you've got people that will do it. And if we don't have people to do it, let's call Rick Grinnell back. He's a rock star. Let's call Rick Grinnell back. Let's call Sidney Powell in there. And let's just do it. That's what you're going to see come up in these lawsuits is a lot of interconnectivity, right? A lot of interconnectivity. But I want to go back to, and here's the reason that you won and you're going to take the oath of office. We control the streets now. And we control the streets with the most positive force in our history. It always turns on the same thing. Jack, we talked about this. This is a fourth turning. Always turns on the same thing. When the American people, who are slow to anger, once they get focused, in turn, the country goes to the next level and good things happen. In the Revolution, in the Civil War, in the Great Depression of World War II. This is the fourth turning. And it's a great awakening. And you could see the Great Awakening on Saturday, right? It's coming up a notch. All those guys with all the psychological warfare and all the propaganda and the information warfare of the mainstream media, it was not buying it, not interested, okay? And now they're in full meltdown because they thought, if we take out Fox, when the Murdochs make Fox moderate, that's the end of them. Sorry. Nope. Got a lot of respect for Fox. And by the way, the Murdochs are business guys. I've said this for years. They're not part of this. That's fine. They're making a business decision. I have no problem with that. It's called capitalism. Go with God. Do what you got to do. And I don't like people whining, our Fox, our Fox. Hey, it's a business. It's a business. That's why the new rising partisan media, we're partisan. We try to be fair. We're objective, but we're partisan. We're highly partisan, right? But go back and look at our pandemic coverage. Go ahead, jump in. You don't have to raise your hand. Max, you don't have to raise your hand. Conscious.
I want to talk about this declassification. I think one of the problems that Donald Trump has always had with the deep state or in-your-face state is they always appeal to his patriotism to slow him down, right? They say, there's a national security issue here, Mr. President. And he thinks, well, gosh, I always think about the country first, the American people first. Sir, they are lying to you. You need to declassify everything. This is your opportunity, win, lose, or draw, to show the American people how they have been robbed for decades.
Here's what they use. They go sources and methods. We're going to do sources. The sources like MI6, right? Stephen Halpern, right? Who's recruiting, right? At Oxford or at Cambridge.
Well, Gina Haspel is the head of
and she's head of the London station. But you've got Halpern is recruiting for MI5 and MI6, and he's recruiting at Stanford, right? Bright young things, what we call them, right?
Making $450K a year for doing this.
Sources and methods. Here's the bottom line: is that first off, I used to ask these guys, why is this classified? That upsets them no end. It's all nonsense. There's not going to be any methods exposed here and no sources, or the sources exposed are bad guys anyway. It's all crap, and you got to release it, and you must release it now. The best people around you, the Radcliffes, the Devin Nunez's, the Jim Jordans, right? The people that have had your back and will continue to have your back, Sidney Powell. These are not, what you're seeing now, and this is about this filing, you're seeing, okay, we're in a time, and that was the powerful thing about Saturday. As Thomas Paine said, there always comes a time when the summer soldiers and the sunshine patriots are exposed, right? That's what we're in. That was called the American crisis. That's what this is. We're in a crisis. And you're exposing all the guys who are just were with you for the grift, okay? For the grift. Now we're down to the not the base. You're there to your real supporters. From top to bottom, and you've got a lot of them who believe in you as an individual, but more importantly, believe in you in the cause, your righteous cause, which is the sovereignty of this nation. in a fair deal, a fair shot, a piece of the action for the little guy. Why did you get 47% of the Hispanic vote? Right? Why did you get 12% of the African American vote, 12% of the African American males? Because they understand it. I want to go back to the rally. Maggie, give us a sense of, you were out in it the entire time. Give us a sense of it. Put us on the streets on Saturday for our audience that couldn't participate and quite frankly there wasn't the proper coverage. Real America's Voice did an amazing job. But outside of that, Newsmax, I don't know, they're like showing documentary reruns or something on Saturday. Chris Ruddy, I love you, brother, but you get an event like that, you got to flip the camera. You got to cut the cameras on. You got to pull I love your docs. You play a bunch of my old films on the weekends. I love it. Not for that day, right?
This was amazing. I mean, the event was absolutely, it's hard to summarize just how positive this event is. It was like 10 times a Trump rally, right? You go to these Trump rallies and you're just overwhelmed by the positivity, the patriotism, the enthusiasm, the love of country. But this was beyond even that, because these people weren't there to see President Trump. They were there to stand up for their country, for a fair election, and to stand behind the president. So all of a sudden we're out there supporting the president. He wasn't even there. And it's wild because he actually did a drive-by in the car before the event. And there's a picture now that's been circulating of President Trump wearing his MAGA hat in the Beast as they're driving down the street. And he just has the biggest smile on his face. And to me, that image is so much about why we were out there. I know that this president just absolutely loves the American people and that he's fighting for us. And that was just such an amazing thing to see. And
the people were so pleasant. Is there any quit or any give up in those people?
No, the people that were out there are people that know that we won on November 3rd and that they're standing behind the president and they're prepared to fight the against the fraud. And a lot of them were using the hashtag Stop the Steal. So, even though that hashtag has been heavily censored online, that was why they were there. And to, just show their support for the president.
Raheem, observations.
It was very loud from my house. I could hear it from the steps of my house when I was walking out on Saturday morning. An incredible show. I mean, remember, last week we sat in here and we talked about what might happen. And I was skeptical that you'd get that level of support out on the street, just because, when the left does these things with the Women's March and that kind of thing, they put on buses, union-sponsored buses and flights and everything from all over the country, and they send people in. There's huge infrastructure behind it.
And months of planning with those events.
Months and months of planning. And there's the underlying infrastructure behind it, remember, that they've had for a very long time. And with this, it was organic, right? It was people flying themselves in and driving themselves in and paying for their own hotels and buying their own swag and flags and everything and making sure they were there themselves. Now the question is, and you said we own the streets, right? Now the question is, can you continue that momentum? And it's the same question that we asked at the very beginning of the Tea Party, right? Can the momentum continue? Can a movement without necessarily central planning do the same thing outside their state capitals? Can they do the same thing all across the country? Can they put enough pressure on the people who are supposed to be certifying these votes?
The answer is it's a resounding yes. Remember, what they always exclude from the history of the rise of the Tea Party is 2010, November 2010. The greatest sweeping victory that blew out, I think there were 62 House seats won. That's what Nancy Pelosi's got coming for. The people around her, the dirty 30 that still exist, they're the ones in these conference calls saying, hey, I see this thing's coming. This is populism like we've never seen it before. And the Bernie guys are all going to have buyer's remorse. The ones that were suckered into voting for Biden are going to see Bernie on CNN begging, Bernie, he's an embarrassment. You run two pillow fights against Hillary Clinton, against the neoliberal neocons, and now you're on TV begging for a job. Will you stop? Will somebody throw a net over him?
Let's get real. He was in it for the money, too. Look at this guy. He's a little guy up in Vermont, never did anything. He's got 2 houses on the lake now, third vacation home.
Hill.
Come on, man. This socialist, he's just like the scumbags in the Bolshevik Russia. He's got his little Dachau, but he wants to put you in chains.
In 2010, we had the greatest, I think, only time in history was 1932 at the bottom of the Great Depression when the Democrats had a sweeping victory with Roosevelt. I think there's the only time, I think it was 65 seats then, 62 seats in 2010 with no money. This was all the Tea Party. This was Sarah Palin, Michelle Bachmann, all of that. That's what's coming for the Democrats. They see what's coming for them, right? Because they see Saturday showed what these people said. It is about President Trump and securing his victory. But it's also bigger than President Trump. Right? It is about the Constitution. It's about working class people. We're going to have every day on the show, both the morning and the afternoon, we're going to deconstruct and show you what this is about. The logic of populism, the logic of nationalism, the logic of sovereignty, the logic of the Westphalian system versus Build Back Better, the Great Reset. Okay? The Economist this weekend had the tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel, it's the vaccine needle. Okay? It's all coming for you. Next, we're going to talk about the violence. We're going to talk about what the left does, the burning and the violence and all that when we return on War and Pandemic.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Tomorrow's news today, for all the hedge fund guys, let me give you a flashing news flash. Populism is on the rise. Nationalism is on the rise. Sovereignty is on the rise. It's an unstoppable force. It's an unstoppable force. You are not going to steal this election. Biden's already been considered, I think I saw a thing from YouGov, 80%, 78% of the Trump voters know this thing's trying to be stolen, right? He's illegitimate. He's illegal. He's feckless. No Democrats in the House, no Democrats in the Senate. They're not giving up a seat to go sign up for this disaster. It's not going to happen. I want to tell Klaus Schwab, the brains behind the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and there are forces moving that I think are leading to a Fourth Industrial Revolution, okay? But we can't let that, remember, the future is not to be discovered. The future is to be made. Your action, through human agency, we create the future. And let me tell you what the future is for all political types out there. It's what happened on Saturday, topped off and crowned by a great victory by Burgess Owens. We still haven't gotten down to the rest of the victories. I think we're going to pick up a couple more seats. And hat tip to McCarthy for recruiting the great guys. But I want to pivot from the forces of light. And if you ever had a doubt what side of the football you're on, in the self-organizing nature of this, just like the revolution, right? Just like the revolution, a self-organizing system. We're going to show you footage and footage and footage of Saturday. Vish. Footage and footage and footage of Saturday. Denver. This is the key to this.
We did
okay, is this now we're going to the side of darkness? Okay, fine. Okay, now the forces of light were out there with hundreds of thousands of upright citizens, veterans, moms, kids, blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics, regardless of your gender, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your religion. And then comes the night. And so Maggie and Raheem, take it away here. What happened? What happened? This is BLM. This is Antifa. They're destructive. They are a destructive force. They are on the side of evil. Okay? It's not me saying it. Look at the streets. What do? They got to go destroy. They got to go into restaurants. They got to destroy to intimidate you. Well, that crowd on Saturday is not going to be intimidated. They're not going to back down. Number one, there's more of them than there are the bad guys. Raheem, Maggie.
Well, look, I mean, firstly, you saw during daylight hours on Saturday, completely peaceful demonstrations taking place all day, almost a carnival atmosphere out there, right? People meeting each other, exchanging ideas. Everything was friendly. And then as dusk set in, you saw the emergence of these black-clad Antifa BLM types at key areas around the city. This was not localized to just Freedom Plaza, but actually you saw it up on New York Avenue, you saw it up on Connecticut Avenue. You saw what they were trying to do is actually move throughout the city to a central pinch point. Now, some will argue that it's not big or clever for the MAGA people to go down to Black Lives Matter Plaza and demonstrate there, because guess what's going to happen? Sure, but they're exercising their First Amendment rights, and they are well within their rights to go down to whatever street they want and demonstrate, especially a street outside the White House. But as you saw the day go on, you see these pictures up on the screen for the video audience here, you'll see it, young people, families, children, in fact, being harassed and targeted by Antifa. There are Antifa activists and Black Lives Matter activists who are waving knives around and getting challenged. There was a video of a man, and I appreciate that this particular man was in the fracas himself, and voluntarily in the fracas himself, but had turned his back on it to walk away and was sucker punched in the face.
He got crushed.
He got crushed,
Yeah.
and the runs by, I want to say lady, runs by, steals his phone.
Yep.
And the guy that had sucker punched him, I believe, was also apprehended, also arrested. Turns out, previous criminal charges, including one of child abuse. And we're seeing that time and time again with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, by the way.
These are bad units.
People who have criminal records, and a lot of people are involved with these associations that have criminal records as it pertains to child abuse as well. That's something that should stick in people's minds. What perverse people we're dealing with here. But just finally, Maggie, before I hand over to you on this, is, you know, our lead story on the National Pulse at the moment is the fact that we still have not seen condemnations. No condemnations from Biden. These are Joe Biden, these are your guys on television right now. No condemnation from Kamala Harris. No condemnation from Nancy Pelosi. No condemnation from any ranking Democrats. No condemnation from congressional Democrats. No condemnation from local Democrats. No condemnation from Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Because they can completely ignore the entire story, right? Because the mainstream media is not going to play these clips. Right? They're not going to cover this violence happening at all. And in fact, they're even scrubbing it from the internet on social media. Because,
what do you mean by that? Tell us that.
So the people that are seeing these clips, we know what's going on. We see this stuff. I follow a lot of other conservative accounts who shared the images like the ones that we've just played of people being assaulted, people being attacked in the streets by, black-clad individuals who are attacking Trump supporters and their families. But the mainstream media is not covering it all, and social media is actually sending messages to people saying you either need to delete this video of these attacks or your account will be deleted. And I've seen this popping up multiple times where people actually screenshot that warning notice from Instagram and they're posting that notice and saying, I'm sorry I had to take down these videos, guys. Here's what's going on. So it appears that these social media platforms are protecting Antifa and Black Lives Matter from being exposed as violent entities.
I said it on, and I want you guys to jump in here. I said it before, on the shoulders of the deplorables. Why has this show had such impact? Why are they trying to shut it down? It's not us. We're totally interchangeable. Totally interchangeable, right? It is this audience, because we've started to help assist in the uniting, not just the deplorables, but uniting with Lao Beijing, uniting with Gilets Jaunes, uniting with in Brazil, and in Italy, and in France, and in Asia, right? Working class and middle class people that just want to be left alone and live their lives. They don't want a great reset. They don't want Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum telling them how they're going to live their lives. They don't want to be replaced by some bioengineered a piece of AI, right? They want an ordered society. They don't want anarchy. And they're not prepared to back down. They're not prepared to back down. These Antifa guys, what they got to do is they always try to isolate people. Mm-hmm. Families walking down, or women, or a couple of guys, right? They're cowards. They're never. Or are they going to go out into what they did the other day in front of the Supreme Court? It was one of the guys at the White House was riding by and took it. They had like 50 of them right in front of the Supreme Court, just silent, and told people, you can't take my photograph. And guy goes, what do you mean I can't take your photograph? Last time I looked, this is the United States of America. I'll take what I want. They got all upset. They were just there staring at people, right? Trying to show a presence. They can only do it in a mob, right? And this is what's so powerful about Saturday. Not only are you not alone, embrace the following. You're on the winning side. We're winning. The reason they're trying to take you down on social media, they understand if the information comes out, they get crushed. The reason the mainstream media won't cover it, they get crushed. The reason they won't have a logical discussion, you got Fauci, right, who it should be terminated. He's now talking about the third quarter of 2021 after they juice you up with the vaccine. Can we get the cover of The Economist? Look at the cover of The Economist this weekend. The Economist is nothing more than the tip sheet for the party at Davos, right? It's the tip sheet for the party at Davos. And this is what they got in your future. The big dark tunnel. And at the light at the end is the needle, right? The needle, which covers, which has a vaccine off of all your money, right? That piled in here to support these companies. That Pfizer actually ended up lying about it. Oh, we're not part of it. Okay, there it is right there. That's the cover. They're the tip sheet for the party at Davos. That's the People magazine of the party at Davos, right? A couple weeks ago, I think Time had the owned by the Salesforce guy had the Great Reset. I want to play Trudeau on the Great Reset. Great Reset is very simple. It's resetting after Trump's defeat. Once they get Trump's defeat, they think that since you don't have a leader, this is all going to go away. Number one, he was not defeated. He won. He won resoundingly. Here's where I know resoundingly. In 16, we focus on a couple of key areas to see, because they all kind of vote in a group. It kind of moves in a group. Youngstown, Ohio, we looked around Ohio, right? You're not going to tell me 2.6 million. Let's play Trudeau for a second. Let's play this guy. Okay, next time we're going to do it with actually sound. Let's get it with sound, and then we can re-roll it.
I like him better without sound.
No, but his sound is. And here's what we should do: is play play the highlight reel of him in India, with remember he and the wife went over. That was so embarrassing. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say,
Sure.
It's really funny because we've been, we as conservatives talk about this idea of the Great Reset. I didn't realize it was a literal thing that they were actually pushing, right? I thought this was like, a concept. A lot of people said, oh, that's kind of like a conspiracy theory fringe thing. It's not. It's actually on the Bill and Melinda Gates website. They talk about like, here's the ideas that we're putting out. Here's what society needs to move towards. This is a literal movement.
It's not
a conspiracy.
Okay, in the third week before we play Trudeau, hang on for a second, because on the third week of January of the year of our Lord 2017, there are two speeches given. One is in Davos at the World Economic Forum. It's Xi, and Xi walks through the whole deal. He walks through globalization. He walks through Made in China 2025. What they're doing with One Belt, One Road. It's basically the network effect. Everybody's going to be essentially a tributary state to the Middle Kingdom. Hang on for a second. You missed your mark, so you just got to hang on. The Middle Kingdom. He walks through the whole thing, and they're clapping and applauding and high-fiving. He says at the time, the only problem we have on the horizon is populism and nationalism. 2 days later, Donald J. Trump gets up and gives his inaugural address. The American Carnage, that was a defense of the Westphalian system. It was a defense of the nation state. It was a defense of you as a citizen of that state. Right? That's the two opposing forces. The Great Reset is that, hey, we know we cheated. We don't care because you don't count. You're just a grundoon. You're just a cog in the machine. Right? That's the Great Reset. The Great Reset is get rid of Trump. You get rid of Trumpism. You know where they're shocked and they don't want to talk about it? Trumpism. This is why it's such a scandal. Lose. We won down ticket everywhere. We held the Senate, right? Picked up seats in the House. One state legislature, flipped two more state legislatures, had a big rousing win all across the nation. This is why it's such a scam. This is why you're on the winning side. You know why you're on the winning side? It's because of you. It's not because of Trump. It's not because of us. It's not because of anybody. It's because of you. It is you. It's on your shoulders it rests. And my God, I couldn't think of anybody in the world I'd rather rest on the shoulders of. What does Churchill say? The most important of all the virtues is courage, because upon courage, all the other virtues, rest. And you are nothing if not courageous. We'll return to the War Room in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs. Canada is here to listen and to help. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
There's a holy trinity right there, right? Got to have climate change in there. So the radicalized agenda of the Great Reset, yes, sir.
I think one of the things that we have to remember here, we have to look back at history, we have to look at how these global movements occur. The Bolshevik movement, the Marxist movement, the global communist movement was global in nature. This was one of actually Hitler's largest problems with it, the fact that it lacked any kind of national context. Now, when we look at Antifa, these guys wear the same outfit in every single country. Insofar as there is a global movement afoot, and they talk about build back better, this is build Bolshevism better. We have heard this lie from Cuba to Vietnam to China to Laos to the fallen countries of Eastern Europe and the collapsed system in the Soviet Union. We are not going to fall into this trap again. These people always claim that they're going to try the same experiment over again and expect a different result. This is what Albert Einstein called the definition of insanity. The world needs to wake up. These people, these communists, never sleep. Their objective is a one world order. This is long before we talked about Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton or anyone else. This comes back from their statements over 100 years ago of their global plan. And to pretend that we're going to fall back into that trap because we've got some new ways of describing communism, not on my watch, and certainly not on the watch of that Marine we watched a half hour ago being interviewed. You know why? Because they dragged their frozen dead out from the Chosin Reservoir. They are not going to give this country up to underground communists parading as Democrats. Sorry for being so upset, but this is serious, people, and it is global in nature. It's not just the United States at risk. It is Brazil at risk. It is countries around the world. We are watching Italy literally be purchased brick by the communist Chinese, and they are using this pandemic to weaken us. Stay strong.
They've already cut a deal. They've already got a secret deal with the Vatican, right? This is not conspiracy theory. There are no coincidences. CCP's everywhere in this, right? With their partners, and you got the Tom Friedmans of the world. Everybody's going gaga. Oh, they love the Chinese model. Look how they came back from the coronavirus. Look how they came back from the CCP virus. And you've got Trudeau up there talking about the Great Reset. This is what the whole deal is. This is what they try to do. This is globalization on steroids. A system. I think it's actually a combination of state capitalism and authoritarian rule that lets your betters, as they depopulate. There's a film, I don't know where this film is, but Bennett Miller made this film. It's 12 hours long. Hasn't been released yet. Don't know why, but it shows you these oligarchs, these, and I call them the AI aliens, right? Because they're all on the spectrum, right? They have no human compassion or empathy. They look at the deplorables as just cogs in the machine. They look at Lao Beijing as just units of production and consumption. And they would like the Earth to not have 6 billion people or 7 billion people. They like the Earth to have 500 million people, which would be all them. And you don't, I mean, I said one time in Italy that the purpose of populism is to make sure the guys that made the decisions on the world economic system today We're not the same people. That's what we had to confront now. We're not the same people making decisions on the singularity, that convergence. And that's what the fourth industrial revolution really is a convergence of artificial intelligence, advances in chip design, and bioengineering. They never want to talk about the bioengineering piece, right? The singularity is on one side is Homo sapiens. On the other side is something that's post-Homo sapien. And you can get this was the part of the Bennett Miller film, based upon those great books that were written, Homo sapien and the other book. But that's what's coming. That singularity is going to be within the lifetime of our children, maybe in the next 20, 30, 35 years. They don't want to talk about that. That's not conspiracy theory. I don't have my, there's just a Harvard Business School case, right, to be deconstructed. And it's obvious the direction they're taking this, the Great Reset. Well, listen, we're winning, but victory begets victory. So, Jack, I love the speech, but hey, if they steal this election, it's not about Trump. It's not about Donald Trump as a person. If they steal this election, they have basically thwarted the will of the people. In the greatest republic in mankind's history, if they can thwart the will of the people in this country, that is how they try to break Brazil. That's how they try to break Italy. That's how they try to break the Lao Beijing, the diaspora of the Chinese. Remember, on Saturday, heck, I gave a live interview to the new federal states down there. They got a stage. They're giving speeches all day. They're digging it. They go, we like this. It's called freedom. Can't do this in China. Do this in China. You'd be in a hole somewhere. Be in a prison. So that's why this is so important. That's why we can't back off this.
Yeah, you mentioned Thomas Paine's The Crisis earlier on, and I actually went back and read it this weekend as well. I mean, it's a series of essays, right? Went back and read it because everybody remembers the beginning, but it's further down, and I pulled this part out, and it really stuck with me. He said, quote, not all the treasures of the world, so far as I believe, could have induced me to support an offensive war, for I think it murder. But if a thief breaks into my house, burns and destroys my property, and kills or threatens to kill me or those that are in it, and to bind me in all cases whatsoever to his absolute will, am I to suffer it? There are cases which cannot be overdone by language, and this is one. There are persons, too, who see not the full extent of the evil which threatens them. They solace themselves with hopes that the enemy, if he succeeds, will be merciful. It is the madness of folly to expect mercy from those who have refused to do justice, and even mercy, where conquest is the object, is only a trick of war. The cunning of the fox is as murderous as the violence of the wolf, and we ought to guard against equally both.
Pretty good writer. Thomas Paine, a guy who knew about revolutions. Okay, Pedro Gonzalez is going to join us next from American Greatness. We got Boris Epstein's going to come on and explain to us about these filings in federal court. Fake news from the Washington Post. We're going to explain it all to you and the strategy behind Trump's fight for his presidency. Next.